Story 1. The Last Light at Granger House. When my cousin Leela inherited the Granger House in rural Vermont in 2016, none of us wanted to visit. The house was a sprawling 19th century stone mansion with a long history and a darker reputation. Leela was practical, though. She didn't believe in ghosts. She moved in alone. She told me the attic light would come on by itself, always around 3:30 a.m. At first, she blamed faulty wiring. Then she realized the attic had no electricity, no bulb, just an old oil lamp sitting on a dusty desk. She swore she saw it lit several times. She called me one night, shaken, said she heard a voice from upstairs whispering her name. She checked the entire house, nothing. But when she returned to her room, the oil lamp was now sitting on her dresser. She hadn't touched it. I drove up to help her investigate. We found a newspaper clipping from 1923 tucked into a wall panel, an obituary for a woman named Eleanor Granger. She died in the attic after going mad, convinced someone watched her through the walls. The article ended with one line: "She lit the lamp to keep them away." That night, Leela and I slept in separate rooms. At exactly 3:31 a.m., I woke to find the attic door wide open and warm yellow light pouring down the stairs. When I climbed up, the lamp was burning bright, and standing in the corner was a figure in a nightgown, staring at the wall. I ran. Leela moved out within the month. The house sits vacant now. But if you drive by just before dawn, they say you can still see a faint yellow glow in the top window.
Story 2. The Red Room of Weller Hall. In 2009, I was in college when a group of friends dared me to stay the night inside Weller Hall, an abandoned mansion on the edge of campus. It was sealed off, rumored to be cursed. Students said the Red Room was the source of everything. No one ever stayed more than an hour. I took the dare. The house was dusty and rotten, but oddly still. My flashlight barely cut through the dark. I found the Red Room on the second floor, deep maroon wallpaper, clawfoot furniture, and a mirror that seemed too clean. It felt like something was waiting. I sat down in the room for 30 minutes. Nothing. Then, in the mirror, I saw a second reflection. It wasn't me. It wore older clothes and was smiling. When I turned around, no one was there, but my chair had moved 6 inches forward. I decided to leave. As I turned the doorknob, I heard a drip. Behind me, the wallpaper had darkened. I touched it. My fingers came away red. It smelled like iron. The walls were bleeding. The door wouldn't open. The mirror began to fog from the inside, and a handprint appeared, but reversed, like someone was inside the glass. The temperature dropped. I screamed and kicked the door until it finally cracked open. Weeks later, I found an archived photo of Weller Hall. The boy in the photo, the one who lived there before it was abandoned, the same face from the mirror. He disappeared in 1954. They never found him, but maybe he never left.
Story 3. The Window in Blythe Manor. In 2014, I was working as a freelance photographer and got hired to shoot Blythe Manor, a massive 1800s estate that had been closed off for decades. The new owner wanted moody images for a renovation blog. The house was silent, untouched and eerily preserved. There was a window in the east wing that wouldn't show up in photos. Every time I snapped it, it came out pitch black, even in daylight. Worse, when I looked through it, I could see a person inside the room behind the glass. But the room was empty. Inside the same room was a massive portrait of a woman. She had pale skin, red lips, and wore an old mourning gown. She looked like she was painted yesterday, but the back of the canvas was dated 1884. I turned to leave, and in the corner of the mirror, she was standing behind me. That night, my memory card corrupted. Every photo was gone, except one. It was a photo of the mirror, taken from inside the house, with me standing in front of it. I never took that shot. I contacted the town's historical society. They knew the place. The woman in the portrait? Catherine Blythe. She reportedly died after being sealed inside her bedroom by her husband behind the very wall that held the east wing window. Locals call her the Bride in the Glass. I never returned to Blythe Manor, but a year later, someone emailed me an article about the renovation. The house was demolished. The final photo showed one piece of the home that remained untouched: the window. And in it, that same pale face.
Story 4. The Silence at Belgrave House. In 2017, I was working as an interior restoration consultant. I just finished a job in New Orleans when I got a call from a client in Massachusetts who had inherited an estate called Belgrave House. It had been built in the 1850s and hadn't been touched in nearly 40 years. The client didn't plan to live there. He just wanted an assessment of its structure and historical elements. So I was paid to spend 3 nights alone inside the house to evaluate it room by room. I agreed without hesitation. Belgrave sat at the edge of a forest. It was the kind of place that made silence feel heavy. No wind, no birds, just that vacuum kind of quiet that presses in on your ears. The interior was mostly intact. Grand staircase, hand-carved fireplace mantels, dust-caked chandeliers, but something felt off. Every floorboard creaked a second after I stepped. Not with me, after me. The second night, I brought my sleeping bag into the drawing room. I didn't want to sleep upstairs after the weird vibe I got up there. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard knocking. Not from outside, but from inside the walls. 3 slow knocks, then silence. I called out. Nothing. Then it happened again, this time from the wall behind the fireplace. 3 knocks, measured, intentional. I didn't sleep after that. The east wing of the house was supposed to be sealed shut. The client said the foundation had shifted decades ago and it was unsafe. But on the 3rd day, I noticed the padlock on the door was broken, just lying on the floor, untouched. Inside was dust so thick it muted my footsteps. There were 4 bedrooms, untouched since the 1970s, complete with old toys, suitcases, and photographs still on the walls. The last room had no windows, only a full-length standing mirror facing the bed. I don't know how to explain this without sounding insane. When I walked past the mirror, I didn't see my reflection. I saw the room, but with the bed already occupied. By me. Eyes closed, hands folded, like I was dead. I spun around. The bed was empty. I looked again. Now the mirror showed just me, standing there, shaking. I backed out of the room slowly. I didn't return to the East Wing again. That night, I tried to sleep in the dining room. I kept a flashlight and my car keys next to me. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a sound I'll never forget. Multiple sets of footsteps pacing slowly on the floor above me, but it wasn't the soft creak of wood. It was like the sound of bare feet dragging, shuffling in circles. Then faint whispering, dozens of voices, none of them clear, but one repeated phrase stood out again and again. "You shouldn't have opened the door." My blood turned to ice. I grabbed my bag and didn't even bother folding the sleeping bag. I drove through the woods until I hit a gas station with lights on. When I told the clerk where I'd come from, his face dropped. "You stayed there? At Belgrave?" He told me no one in town went near it, said it was owned by a family who vanished during a storm in the 80s. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. The East Wing was their part of the house. A few months later, I received a large envelope in the mail, no return address. Inside was a black and white photo of Belgrave House dated 1902. In the picture, standing on the front porch, were 6 people: a man, a woman, and 4 children, all dressed in old clothing. Behind them, in the window of the East Wing, stood a figure no one ever mentioned. A man in modern clothes, holding a flashlight.